Well, hello and welcome. And crikey, Sandra, did you press that button? I can't believe it. We've got some fabulous guests today. I'm really, really pleased to be able to welcome some old friends and you, which is absolutely fantastic. And many thanks to everybody for joining us so far. Really, but actually, before I do the introductions, you know what? The outcome of this show, which is all about congruence and confidence in terms of presentations, engaging and communication, is that by the end of this, we'll be clearing our pipes along with Patrick and Laurie. We'll be singing like songbirds and we'll be engaging with energy. So how about that? And if that doesn't get you, I don't know what will. So really, really delighted to welcome the first of my two very, very special guests today, the wonderful Laurie Ecker. And Laurie, an absolute delight. We've met before, but some of the audience won't have met you. So welcome, Laurie.
Thank you. Hey. Oh my God, I love that. Thank you.
my pleasure. And we've got the wonderful Patrick Munoz over in West Hollywood, California. So Patrick, it's all good. Good to see you.
Oh, good to see you.
Real pleasure, Patrick. And of course, it wouldn't be the same. The show would not be the same without my esteemed and wonderful co-host, Sandra Watson. So, Sandra, a big drum roll for you, I think. There we go. Good to see you. So, guys, welcome. I'm just going to take this off. And what I'd like to do, I know, Patrick, we've had the great pleasure on Successfully Social of meeting with you before, and I also know, Laurie, that you've been on the ABCs with myself and Sandra. But I'd just like to invite you to share with the audience a little bit about what you do, what gets you excited, and really what your credentials are in terms of your interest in communication and performance. So, Laurie, if I could start with you first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I have my master's degree in fine arts in a professional actors training program from Ohio University, not Ohio State, but Ohio University. I started out as an actor, and I love that. I still do some acting, but for the last 20 years, most of what I do is singing, and I do a lot of solo shows, like cabaret style, and I kind of stumbled into it because I had a friend that was in it, and he wanted me to start doing it, and I thought, oh my God, I got to get up in front of people and just be myself, because I was used to having a character to hide behind a script, you know, and you didn't acknowledge the audience necessarily. Of course, they were there, you saw them, their energy was there, but I really love the format of solo performing and interacting directly with the audience as myself, and I've come to enjoy that even more now than I ever thought I would. I moved to New York for a time, and I did cabaret there, and I really enjoyed it there. I've done a lot here. I'm in Indiana now, and I do a lot here, and I've learned a lot about communicating and speaking to people through doing that, and it's interesting because that translates into any kind of public speaking you do. Really, quite honestly, it does. So I love doing it, and I love to help people do it. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, that's fantastic, Laurie. Thanks for that. And actually, you've helped me because, you know what, we're having so much fun in the green room, I forgot half my introduction. So the point that I should have said is that you guys are going to be helping us, not just in terms of the quote-unquote rarefied levels of the performances that you guys give and you guys coach about, but you're going to make it pragmatic and real to us in terms of everyday communication.
Right.
And also ramping that up so that wherever people are on the spectrum of being comfortable with presenting or just general communication and engagement, you're going to help people move forward. So, Laurie, thank you for that, because you gave us a flavour of where you come from, and you also made it real. So I really appreciate that. So, Patrick, same question for you, sir. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what?
Sure. It's so nice to be here with all of you today. Thank you very much for having me again. This is great. I am a voice and speech coach here in Los Angeles, and I was like Laurie. I was an actor, trained as an actor, and trained heavily in voice and speech. Growing up, I always spoke a little too quickly.
Right.
I still can these days speak a little bit too quickly, and so from a very early age, my parents would have me enrolled in voice classes, speech classes. I really wanted to be a singer. Took many singing lessons, and so over the course of my life, as I was acting. When we would be teaching outside of our acting, I would be in a theater somewhere in the United States, and they would offer the actors a chance to teach acting or voice and speech. Nobody really wanted to teach voice and speech, but I've always loved voice. I've always loved speech, and I was trained in it as well in the MFA program. So over the course of my life, that's what I've really turned into. I'm also a voiceover actor, but really my career is as a voice and speech coach. So it's really wonderful. Again, I started off really coaching actors with dialects. So I had Penelope Cruz, and I've worked with Eva Longoria and different actors, helping them either gain an accent or reduce their accent. And then over the last 5 years, I've transitioned because as much as I love helping actors change their dialects, and I do that quite a lot, there's so much possibility in voice and speech that I work now with all kinds of people. I work with people who, again, actors who want to gain accents, and that's really fun. I'm an English accent, British, Australian, whatever, what have you. And Sean, you can be my judge on that one. And then also I work with half my clientele now are business people. Working on their voice, working on public presentations. I have an author, doctors, lawyers, people who are going on and being on like the TV shows or being on the web and coaching them in that. And additionally, and I'll finish with this, is that I work with young people too, or all ages, people who have speech obstacles they want to overcome. So if it's a stutter or an R they can't pronounce correctly, or some kind of a sibilant, where their S's sound like THs, I work with them. So it's very exciting for me. I love growing and learning, and I'm constantly learning with my clientele, and coming out with an ebook on how to work with losing an accent and speaking good standard American English. So It's really exciting. It's growing, and that is, in a nutshell, Patrick Munoz.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And I love it's really interesting for me when I hear both you guys talk about communication and bring it back to the real level, that we mustn't forget that while you both performed on stage, while you both perform in front of vast audiences, it's really about how the everyday person feels. And Patrick, you spoke about speech impediments, and that must be a very, very difficult thing. Perhaps we'll touch on that a little bit later. For the kid at school whose confidence is eroded, and that might colour their confidence throughout life if nothing is done about it. So that's a fascinating area that hadn't really occurred to me. We can come on to that in a minute. Sandra, I just want to invite you in terms of your thoughts. And I know everybody knows you, but is there anything you want to throw in at the moment at all? I can see you patiently sitting there, fervently wanting to get in.
What would you like me to throw in?
I don't know. That was a really poor question. Well, that was a prompt, actually. I did that deliberately just to show what poor communication skills are all about, and I think I succeeded there.
I think that, what I was sitting here thinking when the two of them were talking, and this probably is off the wall again, but hey, I guess I'm off the wall sometimes. It would be interesting at some point in the show if they could use either you or I or both of us and give an example of how they might evaluate someone that wanted to be better. Yeah. And say, okay, Sandra, you could do this, or Sean, you could do this. This is something I've noticed about you, because we've certainly, engaged enough, and some of our audience knows this too, and it would be kind of interesting to see how we pick up on each other as people, because they obviously have picked up on things that they've not shared.
Yeah, and sorry, Patrick. Sorry, Patrick says, and then carries on talking regardlessly. Great communication skills, Patrick. Let me come back to you. Sorry, you were about to say something.
No, I was laughing.
This is all going swimmingly well, isn't it, everybody? Right. I mean, congruence is something that came to mind as well when you were saying better. Then, what we could do better. I mean, there's also this balance, isn't there, where you've still got to be what you are, and you've still got to be, I know I overuse that word sometimes in terms of authenticity, but my belief would be that what you guys do in terms of performance and your coaching is you do help people understand how they appear and how they project themselves, but it's not about becoming something other than you are, is it? I'd throw that out to you. It's probably about enriching your portfolio of communication skills rather than trying to mimic or replicate somebody who doesn't really fit in with your values. What do you think about that? Is that a fair comment, Laurie?
I think so, yeah. I mean, because we're all unique and we all have, we're all different. Mimicking somebody isn't being you, or trying to mimic somebody isn't. Certainly, it's interesting because in theater, there's a lot of times we steal from other people. We steal ideas or
Right.
ways of doing things, but still you make it your own. You put your own passion into it and your own feeling and your own motivation into it. So yeah, no, I completely agree with that. If it's something that you're excited about, you will make it your own.
Sure, brilliant. What do you think, Patrick? You seem to be in agreement there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's the exciting thing, is about seeing where people are and what people also are thinking about themselves, their perception of themselves, too, because sometimes that comes into play, how they feel, how they've kind of taken on what maybe they've gotten as feedback either from their peers or from their parents or at some point in their life, or they just believe about themselves and they think perhaps my voice isn't I don't have a strong voice, or they feel that people instantly ask them where they're from. These perceptions, and so it's so important, I think, to look at what they are feeling, where they are emotionally, and then bring them forward, because everybody already is absolutely interesting just the way they are. Now, being able to communicate and expand that and show more of really who they are is what I find to be so exciting. I guess when I was laughing about what Sandra was asking, I just laughed because I thought, what can we do better? We've been watching you and holding back. What I was thinking too, actually, I laughed because I'm holding back. I'm not going to tell you. But what I thought actually too was that you guys, the two of you, in my time with you, speak really just from the heart. It's nice. You speak. You're very relaxed. You're comfortable. You're confident, you're engaging, you're present, you listen. Those are pretty much the best of you that we can be. And so I agree with Laurie, I agree with you, Sean, all of us, that we want to meet our clients, meet ourselves where we are, and see where we want to be and how we can get there. So that's what I try to really help with.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Sandra, go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, Patrick, yeah, I think that Sean and I are very comfortable doing what we're doing and everything, but for instance, when we're sometimes out of our zone maybe, and we're presenting, and like, okay, maybe I'm going to laugh, and maybe Sean's going to bite his earbuds.
Not that I ever do, of course.
So what would you then recommend to us to get us beyond that zone real quickly that we could do, either of you, that would say, okay, you're getting into that, we can feel it. Sometimes it's like, okay, I become pretty pensive sometimes when I'm trying to think, and maybe that comes across as too serious to an audience. And Sean, you know some of the things that maybe put you out of the zone. What can we do instantly that you would recommend to somebody that could change that for us without us having an ulcer?
I would say the first thing is I think that having dynamics and having movement is so important. We want to be relaxed and free and dynamic. I think on camera, on film, or on interviews, even on this, that sometimes maybe a stillness sort of helps, so that breathing and just instantly feeling yourself sort of centering and taking a centering breath and feeling yourself relaxing into the seat and breathing in a more full way is going to help, because sometimes maybe those little nose itches or the head scratch, if that were to come up, can be something that might, on one hand, it also makes you very human and very real and very accessible, and on the other, maybe it's one of those things that you want to think, okay, I'm just going to be right here in my body, present, and try to kind of still my body. And oftentimes, you find great power from that stillness and great concentration, even under those moments of stress.
Yeah, but if you don't mind me chipping in there, Sandra, firstly, you know what, I'm increasingly convinced we've got some sort of telepathic bond. It's quite remarkable, because that was going to be my question, not asked as well as that, but it was very much about, you can be comfortable in certain places, and then you have a new audience or a new circumstance that befalls you, and it might take you out of your comfort zone. So maybe you're speaking at a big conference, you've never done that before, or whatever the comfort zone is. So you've begun to help us on that. But also there's a brilliant segue, because I'm aware that in terms of the people who are watching the show live, we've got people from a multitude of backgrounds. So we've got people who might be neuroscientists, we've got people who are entrepreneurs, we've got business people, we've got people who are just coming along because they're interested in the subject. So we have got quite a wide range of people. So what I'd like to spend a little bit of time doing is just so that we give a structure to the audience, maybe ask you both to reflect a little bit on what you see are the most common issues, and then we can maybe move into some substance so that people can watch the show and get a few take-home messages. Does that sound a reasonable approach to you guys?
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Laurie, I mean, obviously, I know that you've been out there. You've got an absolutely brilliant CD, brilliant voice. You performed. You recently were. You were on Broadway, weren't you, recently?
Well, I wish.
You were, Laurie. You were. Stop there. Stop there.
Well, I was with some Broadway actors. No, I did a production with the Indianapolis Symphony that was an all-Broadway cast. And the ensemble, a lot of us were local. And in fact, I think most of the ensemble was local. But we had a phenomenal Broadway cast. It was really a privilege and a pleasure to be a part of something that was that excellent. So yeah, I did have that opportunity, and it's great to always watch successful, consistently working actors, especially on that level, because you begin to realize why they always work. They're always prepared. You know,
okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Sean has interrupted you in my excitement. I mean, preparation is maybe one thing, but let you talk. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
What are you noticing then with that sort of group of people, Laurie?
You know, they're not afraid. And now, of course, we were playing characters. It was a musical, anything goes. But what I do notice, and let me kind of link that to good cabaret artists and good speakers that I love, they take joy and they embrace the challenge of directing their energy and really engaging with their audience, whether they're giving a talk with a PowerPoint presentation or whether I'm up there singing. And one of the two biggest things I notice is the energy.
Right.
And I mean, and this is performance-wise is always huge. You've got to have your energy and pacing up. You've got to, keep those thoughts linked and keep moving the piece along. But at the same time, it translates into having a presentation or a speech. So it's really kind of the same thing. I mean, Sandra had shared a TEDx talk with this lady. I can't remember her name, Sandra. It was phenomenal because she reminded me of a performer and how passionate and energetic she was about communicating your ideas and your love for something and starting ideas with a group of people. She was talking about how you can have an idea, but it dies unless you share it, and other people get excited about it, and then the idea grows, and that's how you put it out there, and that's how you get your idea started and make it successful. But this woman had researched before she gave her presentation. She was talking directly to the audience. She reacted to their reactions, and she was very she was very passionate, and she was in love with what she was talking about. So and she had the energy and she had the pacing, and that, I think, creates excitement, and that engages the people that are listening to you. So I think that's huge, those two things.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I'm sure we've all been to conferences or presentations where a subject shouldn't be engaging, it shouldn't be interesting, but the passion of that person is so extraordinary that you're transfixed when they're talking about.
You know what? And
sorry.
I think it's the difference between talking to somebody and talking at them.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's a huge difference. I mean, because if you're talking to somebody, you're engaged in how they're reacting and how they're taking it in. An audience is like this live being. You can feel the energy. You really can.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, but I got so excited there I had to interject that.
No, I'm sorry. It's like a gestalt, isn't it? Almost this organic wave of energy. So
Yeah.
you'll think it's energy. I'm looking at Patrick's face, and I'm guessing he's got some interesting views here. What do you think, Patrick? Is energy connection, as Laurie says, where are you on that particular spectrum?
Oh, absolutely. I love what you had to say, Laurie. That's wonderful. I absolutely, excuse me, passion, energy, excitement. Finding one's passion in life is what's going to completely transform us, isn't it? If we can actually use live in that area where our passion is, it's just great. I teach at an acting studio, Scott's Need Acting Studios here in Los Angeles on Wednesday nights. It's called Nuts and Bolts. It's a foundational acting class, and so different people are coming in at different times in their acting life. But one of the biggest things is passion, right? Because in film and TV, actors come across characters. You watch TV. There's a certain internalization. It's not so theatrical. It's internal acting, and many leading actors are very kind of internal, and that's important, right? To gauge where you are. Having said that, you're without that inner fire. There's an inner fire, and what Laurie was talking about is that passion brings out charisma, brings out energy, brings out connection, and so passion. And I've been reading different books about that, and how things will happen if you have that fire in your belly. If you can give yourself the time to connect that fire in your belly, it will give you the energy to follow through with whatever it is you want to do. If there's something that you're doing but you're not really excited by, that's fine. You can do it and you can make it happen. You can strong arm it into being, but it's really not going to allow you to bring out your true excitement and passion. And before we got started, it was really cute. Laurie was talking about how people know exactly how she feels because she's passionate about life. She reacts, and it's awesome. I think it's awesome to be able to be energetic, and that's one of the big things, right? Like I have an author who has written a book, and he's making speeches, and his thing is he wants to be able to bring that passion to what he talks about, and so it's kind of like that little thing. It's up here, but as Laurie knows, and that Laurie coaches people to come out to here, right? To bring it out to here and bring it outside of yourself. But passion is the biggest thing. I just love that.
And I'm sorry.
No, Laurie, I'll keep doing this. I'm going to shut up. You go for it, Laurie. Sorry.
I'm rambling on here, but no, this is kind of, I'm getting into Patrick's area here, but the one thing I did want to say is I think sometimes people feel a pressure to rush through their material. I've seen this on stage. I've seen it in presentations. And I think it's also important to remember it is a good thing, and I'm kind of doing it right now, to slow down and focus and accentuate the words and the phrases, articulate them. I've been told a lot, my gosh, you're so articulate. Now, part of that is all the speech training and stuff that I take, and you have to be if you're a stage actor. But the one thing that you do learn is that it's okay to take time, pause where you need to pause to accent what is important in what you're saying. Don't rush through something. And if there's a certain phrase or a portion of a sentence that you really want to highlight, put that passion behind it. Slow down, accent it, and pause if you have to. It's okay. That's part of the pacing. Keeping the energy up is good, but the pacing needs to vary. That's where it stays interesting.
See, that's brilliant. No, that was absolutely beautiful, because between the two of you, what you talked about is passion, and then Patrick acknowledged the fact that you can still get passion for things that don't necessarily motivate you. I might have to give a talk to a group of people about a subject that isn't my favorite thing in the world, but I still need to engage them. But also, Laurie, the additional point you made about pacing, that's really important, because if you're full on all the time, that's just wearing, I suppose, as being really subdued. You've got to balance it. Sandra, I haven't invited you in for a while. What are your thoughts, having engaged with a lot of people with your different businesses, and obviously you've got your very successful online shows as well, so you've got different audiences. What are you thinking about this?
I loved what both of them agreed upon together, but which we've talked about many times, Sean, and that is the passion with it. You know, the one thing that I think a lot of the audience at some point, I mean, whether live or on the recorded version, is going to be, but I'm not like you guys. I don't have that personality that can get out there and laugh and just do it spontaneously or whatever. But I bet you have a passion. And I remember a play that Laurie was in. I'll never forget it. I think it's the most incredible thing. She had to sing off-key throughout the whole play because she was acting. Yeah, and it was beautiful. That was a strange part about it. She was singing opera off-key. So maybe whatever. But the person that she was portraying was one who had the passionate thought that she was very good. And
right.
She wasn't. Yet the audience paid big money to go see her at Carnegie Hall and other places, buy her albums. And I use this as an example because some of you watching are probably never going to be a trained actor, a trained voice coach, or trained in some of the things we're talking about. But I'll bet you if we ask each of these people separately, they're going to say, but you can sound that way because of the passion that you bring to the platform. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, Laurie, go for it.
I was going to say, I think it's also a matter of, it's just like anything else you do. My cabarets have gotten better over the years because you get used to it. You get used to engaging with people, and a point I want to make is you can't always really judge from the way an audience is reacting whether or not they're with you. Oftentimes they are. They're quiet. They're maybe a little bit more introverted, but they're still totally into what you're doing or what you're saying. But I don't know where I was going with that. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you know? It's one of those things. Look, we could talk for hours, you and I, Laurie. We did the other day.
I lost it. And you're going to lose it. This is a good example. I'm glad this happened. I'm glad I went up on my thought because
all rehearsed, Laurie. All rehearsed.
You're gonna go up on stuff, and you're gonna like, where was I going with that? And you know what? People love that. They love to see that the same thing happens to you. So go with it.
Well, all I was thinking is, I know we were talking about this the other day, so perhaps I timed it wrongly, but you were talking about, when we caught up a couple of days ago, the fact that in the early days of your experience, or other actors and singers perhaps, that sometimes people could make assumptions, and you could prejudge a reaction and think, if the audience like me, they should be behaving in a certain way. And when that doesn't match up to your inner vision, then you start sabotaging, self-sabotaging. That little voice in your head starts saying, "Oh, they don't like me. They don't like me." Whereas in fact, that person was just going like that, not because they were bored, but because that was their way of processing your singing and appreciating it. So you were also talking about, and it links in with what Patrick was saying, when you're really, really confident and anchored, I guess you're not looking for those signals and misinterpreting them because you're in the zone. But the issue is when you're less comfortable, you might be a bit more prone to looking at these signals and then drawing the wrong conclusion and self-sabotaging.
Right.
So but for both of you, I would ask then, what are your tips? Because we want to give some people a few practical tips here. In that sort of eventuality, what would you advise, Laurie, for someone to do?
Well, and this is my feeling, and this, once again, this will go back to a presentation. You have to keep forging ahead in the way that you've practiced it, rehearsed it, prepared it. Don't let it take your energy down. Don't let it take your excitement down. Don't assume that they're bored. And I know that's hard to do, and it gets easier to do because you're going to have a lot of audiences and a lot of people that will watch you, and you're thinking, oh, God, they're just not with me. They hate this. But they don't. I guarantee you they don't. And maybe some of them do. Yes, there will be a group of people who think this is stupid and I'm just not engaged. But that doesn't mean that you're not communicating it well. You can't change what you're doing. If you're prepared and you're presenting it in the way you've practiced it and you know you're doing it well, you've got to stay focused on that. And you have to, even though you have to read the audience and take that energy in, you also have to kind of almost desensitize yourself to, I don't know if that's the right word, but don't let it make you go faster. Don't let it affect your passion or enthusiasm about it, you just keep doing it, and it works. I mean, and once again, that's you'll have some. I know you'll perform. You'll have presentations where you'll go, "Oh my God, I just totally blew it."
Yes,
and it's going to happen. It's going to happen, but you can't let that stop you, because it's going to get easier. It's going to get better. And it's going to get easier for you to deal with audiences or groups of people that you feel maybe are not with you, because that will happen.
Yeah, and I'm nodding because I recognise that, and I suppose it's about keeping the flexibility and awareness of the audience, and also keeping the inner confidence. Now, Patrick, I know, as well as working with actors, and as you said, you gave an example of kids as well. You do a lot with business and entrepreneurs, and you coach business professionals. So I guess you see quite a bit of this, Patrick, where maybe people are misreading signals. What advice would you have for people like that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. What all three of you have mentioned, which is what Sandra said about, you know, having that passion, and if you have a passion for something, that in a way it doesn't really. You can give yourself permission. It doesn't really matter if your speech is bad, your accent's strong, you're mumbling. At the end of the day, if you're focused and you're engaged, as a listener, my heart goes out to you. I want to know what it is. If you have a story to tell, I want to hear it. So I don't really care about the rest of them, the bells and whistles, and if you want to get better at all those other things, that's great. But if you have something that you want to convey, then I don't care about the rest of it. Secondly, what Laurie was saying, which is about the detachment, right? The spiritual principle, to detach from the results. We're all our own worst enemy at points. We're all our own worst enemy. We get in our way, and I start to have this projection of what you're thinking about me, which with the three of you is always very positive. I like it, but I know. That's an easy one. But I've definitely had times in my life where I thought, oh my God, they hate me, or this person is looking at me and he just thinks, and thank God I have a few years now in my life, which is, I don't know what you're thinking. I have no idea. And I used to think, oh, this person didn't do this because I didn't, You know what? People don't come to class because they have car accidents. People don't come to class because they have fears. People don't come to class because they can't show up for themselves. I know that. So if you can detach, and also what Laurie was saying, which is practice. That's the big thing. I started doing YouTube videos about a year and a half ago. And at first I thought, and I remember just trying to do one. And I really want to do one. I see people do it. I want to do this. I want what they have. I want to do this thing. Sure. And so I taped myself, and I was right here, and I put the camera over here, and I looked at myself, and I looked at it afterwards. I'm like, well, the lighting's terrible. I'm kind of wearing bad clothes. Finally, I had an assistant come in, and we started to do it. And I'm like, well, and I had to do a little bit of that detachment. I had to detach from the results. I thought, okay, this is good. Sure, yeah, can I make it better? Of course I can make it better. But I don't want to let perfection be the enemy of the good. And I just want to get something good out there that I can start sharing with. And again, what Laurie said about practicing. For people who want to make public speeches, and we're talking about making presentations, Toastmasters is a wonderful way to do that. They have around the world, and I've had many clients who've come and said, I tried it a couple times, and I got to say, I got more confident. I have a student who was with me in my acting class, and again, the acting class is only a very small part of this, but I'm just thinking about these people because of different experiences that I've come across. But this one fellow who, young, good-looking guy, he has the desire to be an actor, but he held himself back. He was tired. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Am I here?
Yeah, you're still
and there. So, well, Tourette's comes out.
Oh, is it?
So I had him for about 6 weeks or 12 weeks, and then he went. But his confidence, I said, you've got to get your confidence up. Well, he came back about 2 months later, and it was after the new year, and he came into the scene, and it was like he had power. He was he was not shy. His body language wasn't shy anymore. His voice wasn't timid. His passions weren't held in. He stood up, and he engaged, he connected. And I said, what did you do? And he said, well, I was invited to speak at this International Management Trainers Association. it's IMT, I forget what it stands for exactly. He was asked to speak at this organization in front of about 1,200 other people his age, and he said, I was so scared, but I got up there, and the energy they gave me, and I remember people had told me that it's got to go and give them energy back, and he said, and that transformed me. And how cool is that? That is like, wow, that is so wonderful.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story, and it just shows that sometimes the fear is in the anticipation rather than the actual doing. And once you do and get that energy back, it takes you to another level, and that's a wonderful story. I'm just trying to think. There were a couple of really good points that came out of there for me, Patrick. One was about the practice. Because let's face it, you wouldn't go to, I know it's an old truism, but you wouldn't go to the gym once and think, right, I've got perfect biceps for life or perfect abs for life. You just, through doing a couple of crunches, you've got to work at it and you've got to keep going. So there's a practice element. Yeah, I mean, that was a lovely part for me. And Laurie, of course, what you said about being true to yourself as well was fantastic. Sandra, again, what's your take on what both of the guys have said?
I love what they both said. The one thing that I was thinking, okay, so Patrick, I come to you, Laurie, I come to you, and I basically have no confidence in what I feel is my problem. You may look at it and say, it's really not a problem, it's your self-esteem and your confidence. So as a coach, Patrick, and when you're working with people, Laurie, is it more trying to get them in the feeling that they need confidence, or is it that they really need the training too? Or do they already have the basics of what they need? Do I have that? Or is it a combination, or wow, am I way off base?
That's a great question.
No.
Laurie, what about that?
I was going to say, I do think it's a combination of all of those things. I think it is important that you gain confidence, but it's almost like it's almost like a catch-22 because I wasn't confident. I mean, when I first did cabaret, I was thinking, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. I don't know what possessed me to try it. It was my friend Tim. He talked me into it, and I trust him in it with anything. And then once I got used to being me, and I realized that people want to engage with you. If they're sitting out there watching you, and this is important to remember, if they're out there watching, even if they're in, like, let's say you're teaching a class, you're a professor, and you're taking an intro to chemistry or something, these kids have to take the class, okay? They're in engineering or whatever, you know. So they've got to take these mandatory classes. People really do want to be engaged in whatever scenario they're in. So if you remember that, I think it makes it easier. You know, an audience comes to watch you perform because they really want that connection. Why the hell else oh, excuse me, I cursed. Why do people go to live theater? Why do people go into a classroom anymore? I mean, there's online degrees. I know some people that they can just get a degree by just doing everything online, but I think there's validity in saying that if you're taking a class or you're going to a live performance because you want that energy of that human being on the stage, you want that connection, especially now in this day and age when everything's electronic and everything's social media, how much do we really legitimately connect live with a human being? And I think anything can be exciting. Learning intro to, I took ancient Greek. Okay, and it's Bible Greek. I took that when I was at Ball State. It was one of my favorite classes because the professor was so into it. She was so dynamic, so fun, so funny, you know. And it's, yeah. How do you find that confidence? Well, once again, if it means that you have to start out with a group of your friends that you trust, and you sit down and you present something to them, and talk to them and experiment with them, that's a great way to start until you can get to the point where you're up in front of a group of strangers. I think I could speak to any number of people. It could be 10,000 people in an auditorium, and it really wouldn't bother me. I may not like it as much because there's so many of them and they're so far away, and I like the intimacy of doing like cabaret where they're just right there.
Sure.
But at first that was very daunting to have somebody close. But I think everybody can have that. Everybody can have that confidence and that self-esteem if they keep working at it, because people want to be engaged. I really honestly believe that. Okay, I'm rambling on. I'm sorry.
No. I tell you what. You saw my random eye movements, not because of what you were saying, but it made me think, and it also made me think of a point that Patrick made, which I blanked out on earlier, which was storytelling. So I think this is a really beautiful thing. So possibly what happened with that particular professor, Laurie, and I'm just guessing, is that they weaved a bit of magic into the subject.
Yes, they did.
And there were stories, and I think of my schools in the UK, and I think of some subjects that I absolutely hated, where the next year I'd have a different teacher, and it was the same subject I hated the previous academic year, but somebody else made it, like math. I hated math when I was about 13. When I was 14, I had this amazing guy who just transformed it through storytelling and metaphor and structure. We haven't even touched on that yet. So, you know, Patrick, thinking about storytelling, is there anything you'd like to elaborate on in terms of that? How could people become better storytellers? It all goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, baby.
We're still on.
No, we've gone now. I'm gone. It was a recording.
Storytelling is huge. Having your personal stories to tell is so helpful. I think, you know, we talked about how can we sort of help today with people out in the audience, some ideas that could help them. We talk about practice and dynamics and passion. Storytelling is right up there because it's that commonality we have, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And I think it is. I mean, as I think about it, as much as I promote storytelling, I think for myself, sometimes I'm like, Patrick, my stories, I don't know if I have enough stories. And yet, if I just breathe and I kind of think about certain episodes or certain experiences in my life, and I speak from the heart about them, now I'll practice detachment. I don't know whether you're interested or not. No, seriously, I will. If I just kind of tune into my inner self and just tell true stories, then they are what they are, and they tend to be interesting. How can people become better storytellers? Well, I mean, they can tell bedtime stories to their children. They can really just do the simple thing, which is come into their own being and think, you know, what are my experiences and what is it that I want to share? And that can be very helpful, I think, because it is a really important part. It is one of the things about, I think, public speaking sometimes is makes a difference. With my author I was talking about earlier, he can tell stories.
Yeah.
Sometimes his delivery is a bit flat. That's what we're working on. He's getting better at that. But his dream is to become a public speaker. And this is a man at 74 years old who's been 72 years old, who's been super successful in all areas of his life, and now has written 2 books, which are super successful. And now he's making that transition. In this first speech I went to go see, I think it was subsequent to our last time I got to be on the Google chat with you, was a huge success because he made it through, and it was about 20 minutes. He was the keynote speaker at a graduation, so it was good. It was good. Can it be better? Yeah, because he can be more passionate. He can be more excited. He can have more dynamics. This first time was just kind of getting through, but what he had, and he has in his book, are stories. This man can tell stories. This man can tell stories. Fantastic. So again, I think what we were all talking about is you go to your strengths. What are your strengths? So with Sandra talking about earlier, okay, you're shy, you don't feel quite right, but you have something to tell. That's your strength. And Laurie was saying, you know, the practice of it, getting better and knowing, like, I can engage people. That's your strength. Go towards that, and then try to build up those other things as well.
Yeah, I think that's... Oh, Sandra, go for it.
Okay, I'm bringing in something because I know that, you know, we're getting closer towards the end. I'm so sorry, but one of the things we talked about, people that do coaching or, you know, do something like that, they're not doing a presentation, so to speak. They're on a one-to-one with somebody and they want to get out something across for something. Like I'm talking to one-to-one each of you that is listening. How do I know when you've put the mute button on for me and I need to be quiet or change the tone or something? What is something that you could tell me as a coach or person to be able to read what I am getting across so that I can change that a little bit to make it now all of a sudden so that I can bring you in.
I think what Laurie talked about earlier about pausing and taking a moment to see where this person is with you, to ask them questions.
Oh my God, I was going to say that.
Yeah, it's interesting. In presentations, it's interesting. Well, I mean, not in presentations, but one-on-one engagement. I think one of the biggest things is listening. Now, like, granted, maybe you have to speak the whole time. That's a different story. But if it's a two-way street, listening is so important. And I so often hear people when I'm talking. I can tell my tribe. I can tell when people are actually listening to me, or when people are to quote Laurie, like listening at me. I mean, they're kind of like they're projecting what they're hearing. And granted, in quick conversations, I'll do that too. I really try as I grow in this life, try to listen to somebody and see what it is they're truly saying, to give them that chance to pause, to come through. I kind of like that about this setup here because it automatically, this screen is really interesting. It automatically goes to the person who's talking. So each of us needs to be judicious, right? If we're going to start to talk, we have to think, has that person finished what that person said? It really goes on to, in our conversations, has this person finished what they're saying? Have they said what they want to say? Because we get so distracted with our phones and our things, and people have to pay attention. And I think at the end of the day, sometimes in my coachings, I think it's just actually disconnecting to someone. I think just having them to be able to talk about what's going on with them. Sometimes I don't have brilliant nuts of information to offer. I just have my experience and my kind of, feedback with them, my sort of, saying what I see perhaps or what I think, what I feel. But what I do have is that ability just to listen, and then they can take away from that they were heard. And I think that's what one of our big things is, isn't it, that we want to be heard, and we feel there's a block to that. So I would say listening.
Okay, so let's say that you're then in the big audience, like Laurie talked about. We're not to pay attention to what people may be doing with their body language, like, falling asleep or whatever. How do you then translate when I can't ask a question into knowing that you have hit the mute button for me as a presenter or whatever? Because that's going to be a biggie for some people. I mean, I was just in a situation this morning. I was watching the presenter and I was watching the audience, and maybe the presenter was so involved in what they were doing, they weren't watching what the audience was doing. And you can tell when the mute button's hit, just like you can in a relationship. Like, I'm sorry, but you've turned me off, Sean. What do you want me to do?
I'm sorry. I thought that was a command. I was just about to.
And I can't ask that question of the audience. I'm sorry. I see you. Are you turning off the mute button? What's a good way maybe to know that?
Wow, that's an excellent question, Laurie.
Yeah, it is. I don't know, but the first question I've had, because I've not spoken to huge auditoriums filled with people, and typically, no matter how big it is, I can see the first couple rows or whatever, and I will talk directly to people in the first few rows. I have literally spoken to the audience, and I'll ask a question no matter how big they are, which is a way of kind of turning the table, say, okay, what do you think about that? Or I'll ask a question when I'm in between songs, if I'm talking or introducing another song, or I'm telling a story about the composer. I'll say, do you all love so-and-so, or what do you love? And that's a way sometimes for me, because I've had very quiet audiences where I'm like, come on, people, give me something here, because I really do want to feel like there's some kind of more engagement, or something that is more tangible to me, I should say. And I'll ask them questions, and I don't know if you're directly speaking to a group of people, I don't know if that would be wrong, no matter how big the audience is, to ask them something, even if it's rhetorical, even if nobody really wants to verbalize or, what the answer is. That is a way to go, oh, well, I'm not paying attention, and sometimes that can turn the tide. I've done that in shows before, and most of the time somebody will speak up and say something. But even if they don't, I can get a sense of I got them back.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but I've come across this idea before, and sometimes it's about the pace again that we spoke about earlier, isn't it?
Yeah.
And people every day go into hypnotic trances. It could be a trance when you're driving to work and you do the same route every day and you kind of autopilot it. And that probably happens in performances and presentations, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
people think they know what you're going to say next, and they start thinking about what they're going to have when they get home and the discussions they're going to have with their partner, and zone out. And by asking the questions and changing the energy and the pace, what you've done there, Laurie, I would suspect, is you've changed the whole dynamic, and suddenly that person reboots. And
Right.
the computer program comes back on, and then they listen again. So that's kind of interesting. And on that note, I'm conscious of the fact that we did say that there would be a competition, and just wanted to announce that, and 2 excellent prizes. So we're just going to change the pace a little bit now. 2 prizes, one obviously from Laurie and one from Patrick. Laurie, I'm going to invite you to ask your questions and tell us about your prize. So if I can just come over to yourself, Laurie.
Yep. Okay. I've got a CD that you can't download because I haven't got that far with it yet. So it's a collection of about, I don't know, I don't know how many songs are on it. I'm going to say there's over 10 songs on it. I love them all. And the CD is called Incredibly Eclectic. I produced it, I financed it, I did all of that. So I'm very proud of it. It's my first CD. It's my only one right now. I'm planning the next one, but you know, it takes a lot of planning. So there's, I would be thrilled to send this CD anywhere in the world, actually.
Wow.
But to whoever would like it, there's 4 songs on there, and Sean and I have.
There's more than 4 songs. Sorry to interrupt you. You've got 4.
I've got there's 4 songs. I'm going to ask you to guess. There's more than 4 songs. Yeah, there's more than 10. I'm sorry. I'm confusing. I'm so sorry. I'm all flustered. I'm verklempt. See, you're going to get verklempt, and it's okay. It's all right. Just back up and reboot, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, reboot, Laurie.
So I've got 4 different songs that I want. I mean, there's over 10 songs. Let me clarify again. But there's 4 songs I'm going to ask everybody to guess which is my favorite song out of these 4 songs on the CD that I'm going to name. There's a song called Velia. It's from a light opera called The Merry Widow. I sing it in English. It's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful piece. I love The Merry Widow. There's a song, it's a World War II big hit that many people would be familiar with, I think most people. It's called I'll Be Seeing You. There's also my special version of Hotel California. Can't sing like the Eagles, so I just do it a little bit differently, but Sean loves it. He loves it.
I love it. I absolutely
love it. And then I've also got Disney Girls, which is a Captain and Tennille hit from the 70s, which I also passionately love. If you can guess which one of those 4 songs is my favorite out of the 4, I love them all, but there's one that I particularly love the most, I will send you my CD.
That is cool. Now, what we'll do is we'll say that people can do it either now or, because we're running close to time,
we are.
The first posts on the stream after the event, we'll obviously get in contact and sort out. Obviously, you don't want to give your personal contact details on the stream, but if you trust us after the event, we'll get them privately from you, so we can do it that way. And Laurie, are you, without obviously giving the game away, and probably everyone was scrutinizing your body language and everything there, but is there any clue you can give anybody, or are we going to leave it just with those 4 tracks as you've described them?
I will give a clue. This is a really good clue. This is a good clue. This might help. The song, my favorite song is a song that I dedicated to somebody very near and dear to me. Mm-hmm. That's the clue.
Okay, that's cool.
I think that might help.
Right, that's cool. We won't take it anymore because we don't want you to give the answer away. Patrick, you're looking ready to leap into the fray, sir. So you've got.
I kind of want to guess the song. I kind of want to guess the song, but I'm not going to. I'll wait till we're finished. But I want to. And then the clue kind of okay. Okay. Anyway, back to my mind over here on the West Coast. I'm offering a 20-minute Skype or FaceTime consultation. and I coach clients right now over Skype and FaceTime. I have clients in South Africa rather, and in Belgium and all over. So kind of exciting. And what we would do in those 20 minutes is whatever you want to talk about. Would be whether it's about your voice, about speech, about becoming a better communicator. You will talk, and we can figure out what it is. So that's 20 minutes free consultation with me. And the question is, what famous actor, as a young person, was a stutterer? What famous actor was a stutterer? And the choices are, and I think all of these people have distinctive voices. The choices are: A, Marlon Brando; B, Charlton Heston; C, James Earl Jones; or D, Paul Newman. Again, what famous actor had a stutter as a young man? And that would be Marlon Brando, Charlton Heston, James Earl Jones, or Paul Newman.
Fantastic, Patrick. Thank you very much. So we got two fantastic prizes there from Laurie. We've got the CD, and Laurie's been kind enough to say that she'll send it anywhere. Clearly, we'll get on the stream when we see the first right answers. Obviously, Laurie, I've already put my answer in there. You might be able to see it, so I'm hoping it's going to wing its way over to the UK. But should that not be the case, then some other lucky person will get it. But we'll get the private details, obviously, when we see who is first back with that one. And Patrick, 20 minutes of your coaching time and coaching prowess, either on Skype or FaceTime, I think you said.
Or Google Plus.
Or Google Plus, my gosh, yes, of course, that's silly me. Or Google Plus, so whatever method works best. And again, you've given 4 choices, so that's absolutely phenomenal. Before we wrap things up, I mean, normally what I would do is just ask each guest on every show if there was one message of everything that's been said that you think would be a great take-home message. What would that be, and why? And I'm going to reverse things a little bit. So I'll start with you, Patrick, this time. What would your key message be, and why would that be the case?
My key message would be to speak out, to speak out for yourself, to find out what it is that you have inside that you want to share, and say it. And say it, I mean, again, we did it on our last episode we worked on, which is just having an affirmation, right? Using your body, using your voice to speak out something in an affirmation. Connect with what it is that you love. Connect with what it is you want to share. Connect with your dreams. We've been through a big time these last 6 years with, the world financial situation, and people have really reassessed themselves in their lives, and we've gotten to see how it makes a difference what you do in your life. And there's so many platforms these days where you can really become your own person, your own success, and they're even. Oh, now I'm really going on. What I wanted to say, there was an article this weekend talking about these different apps that are available, like Lyft, or people making a living doing these different things.
Yeah.
Well, I think even more important, I think it's great. I think it's sometimes a little difficult to make a living doing all these different things. I think what's really wonderful is that find out take some time for yourself. Take time every day for yourself. Take time to meditate, tune in, and then speak out, follow your dreams. And my takeaway is, go out there and follow your dreams and be great.
Patrick, that is very, very powerful indeed, and who could argue with that? So thank you so much, Patrick. That's absolutely fantastic. Laurie, yourself, what would your big message be for us?
My big message, I think, is something that I've been learning. I have a fairly decent level of confidence at this point in getting my message out there and talking to people and presenting myself to people, and it's gotten easier over the years because I've done it so much. But the one thing that I think everybody needs to know, and I do completely and wholeheartedly believe this, is we each and every one of us have something wonderful to share, something to say, and no matter how you feel, you are worthy of sharing that message. So don't give up if you feel like, oh my God, it just didn't come out the way I wanted it to, or I just can't say this, or I can't do this. If you need it, if you need to say it and you want to share it, don't give up on doing that, because we all have something special to share that other people do want to engage with and hear. So put it out there and don't give up on doing it, because you're worthy. What you have to share and your ideas are worthy.
I absolutely agree with that. Beautifully put. In a minute, I'm just going to ask you both as well for contact details in terms of websites and how people can connect with you further. But just before I do that, Sandra, what's your big take-home message?
Just do it.
Just do it, Nike.
Do it.
Yeah.
Hey, let's do it. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yep. That's my new motto.
Oh, Sandra, that's worthy of applause.
That's my new motto. I actually put it on something because so many times we just sit around and talk about it. We just never do it.
Yep.
I can have all the passion in the world, but if I don't start, it doesn't. It's just there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mine's very similar to yours, and you know, many years ago I used to practice something that somebody said, Sean, you don't do self-development. I said, yes I do, I do self-development. I said, no, you do shelf development. You've got an endless amount of books on your bookshelf that are probably you've got to be, you know, into page 3 or page 4 or maybe even chapter 1 or chapter 2, but what are you implementing? And I realized that it's very much like you said, Sandra, you can have all the passion, all the energy, all the enthusiasm in the world. If you don't do anything with it and apply it and take it out to the world, then it's not useless, it's great, but you're kind of neglecting yourself and you're neglecting a potential audience. So I'm absolutely with you on the just do it. That's a fantastic way of putting it. So thanks for that, guys. Now, obviously, there will be people winning the prizes and connecting in that regard, but for others that might want to connect with you, what's the best way of reaching you, Laurie?
My website right now, the best way would be LaurieAecker.com.
So that's...
And it's LORIAECKER.com. I've got a voicemail system, which is area code 317-522-1927. You can leave messages there. I can also listen to them via my computer. So that's the 2 main places.
And what would you be happy for people to connect with you about? Is there anything specific or?
You know, if they're nearby and they want a show, by golly, I'm for hire.
I love it.
That's one thing. If they want to buy my CDs, that's another.
That's another. Cool.
Yeah. So, but also, even if you just want to, well, of course, I'm on Google Plus, obviously, because I'm here. So, we can also connect that way. I really love the idea of networking and dialoguing with people about arts and self-empowerment and that sort of thing. So if there's a discussion or dialogue you want to begin with that, I'm very interested in that. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Laurie. And Patrick, what about yourself, sir?
You can reach me on my website, patrickmunoz.com. So my last name, Patrick Munoz, M-U-N-O-Z. Then you can also go on, follow me on Twitter at The Voice Zone. Yeah. And then there's also my Facebook page, which again is Patrick Munoz at The Voice Zone. So I'd love to see you. I'd love to see you there, and you can engage with me. And we can discuss, you know, good places to find, find the resources to develop your voice, develop your speech, whatever it is. If you want to gain an accent, lose an accent, learn how to, you know, become a better storyteller, a better speaker, feel more power, feel more engaged, centered in your body, whatever that is that goes towards becoming a better you, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. So please feel free.
That's absolutely fantastic, and just for people probably have noticed this or maybe have noticed this, but on the event page already I've posted images of both websites for both Laurie and Patrick, and of course on those images are the web links. But what I will do is re-put the web links again under that, so there should be, you know, absolute clarity in terms of different ways of reaching the guys, and of course both of them are on Google Plus. As well, so that's absolutely fantastic. So you know what, it's been a real privilege to hang out with you guys. I know, you know, we've not all 4 of us gotten together in this particular way, but I know we all get on well, and I've really enjoyed what you've had to say. I've learned a lot. Sandra, have you've taken away some really good stuff, I think?
Oh, always. You can't engage with other human beings and not take away something. Even if it's been what I call a discourse of some measure, I always try to find something good out of it that's going to help me in what I do. So yeah, this was great because everybody's in a positive mood. It's a lot of energy, a lot of happiness, and it's great. I mean, I still don't know what I need to improve on, though, guys. That's really kind of
You're perfect.
You're pretty darn good as you are.
and I can't even win any of the gifts. I mean, my gosh, this is, I mean, wow.
Where's yours? Hello. You know, I want to thank the three of you. It was awesome. I had the best time. It was so much fun. I know I get kind of serious sometimes, but I'm like, you know, because I'm not sure am I talking to you, am I talking to the people, you know, the people. But it really is. It's like it's fun to be around people who get excited about what they're doing, and all of us are excited, and we each bring our own little thing to it. So this is the best. This is a total joy and pleasure.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Ditto.
Fantastic. Thank you, Patrick.
I love you guys.
We love you. I think we should close with a song now, everybody. Is everyone ready for it? Did we rehearse this? Are you ready? Laurie, lead us in a song, Laurie.
I can't on demand.
And I can't sing, and Sandra's shaking her head in horror. So rather than a song, what we'll just do is say thank you very much. Thanks, guys, for first of all, you guys for being here. Thanks to the audience for attending. Yes. Get those responses in for the competition prizes. Look forward to seeing you next time, and thanks once again. Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Thank you, Laurie.